Pairing technology and product, getting your timing and your placement right. That's the topic of this episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
Welcome to XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve podcast, where real farmers share real insights and real results to help you improve your farming operation. This episode of Cutting the Curve is brought to you by Claas, where machines aren't just made, they're made for more. With a wide range of tractors, combines, foragers, and hay tools, Claas is a family business just as driven, demanding, and dedicated as yours. Go to claas.com and start cutting your curve with their cutting-edge equipment. And now, here's your host, Damian Mason.
Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. I've got one of the founders of XtremeAg here, Chad Henderson. He's excited to be here. He's with his buddies from Spraytec, Justin Moe and Drew Ewing. Chad actually has some trials going on right now for his double crop soybeans. That'd be, as he and Matt from the South call them, wheat beans, which means they put soybeans in after the wheat comes off in early June. What are you doing with this trial, and what are you trying to prove?
So, we talk about the 4Rs, and Damian's right. We're going to have a good time on this podcast, but it's the right placement, timing, and, we're looking at double crop beans. We've been looking at double crop beans all my life. I enjoy double crop beans, and it's because of the area I'm in, and I can get them planted. I have some actually that's planted the first I've ever planted the last day of May, and it tickles me, because I have had some that make 80 bushel, and that's not easily done, anywhere else in the country because we're so far south. But with that being said, it gives us more testing window. We can test so much on our regular season beans, and then we can keep testing in our other beans. Are we going to make more bushels on them? Probably not, because most of the time we're up against sunlight. It just runs out of heat. The heat hits it wrong, or the sunlight, it just runs away from us, and we just don't have the time. But we get to learn more about what these products do and how they do in the plant. So we've got some tests, we've got some K out, we've got some cube IR, obviously some adjuvants in there, and we might have smoked in just a little bit of boron.
Drew, this thing he's doing down there is essentially, okay, by the way, the 4Rs are, I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the fourth one. Right source, right time, right rate, right time, and right place. Right source, right rate, right time, and right place. I knew it was about timing and placement, and I knew it was about the product, but
that's what I always forget, the right rate. I've always forgot the right rate.
And because Chad is a Send-It twin, he likes to put on, if 4 ounces is good, 8 ounces has to be better. So anyway, it's the right rate that he struggles with because he likes to send it. So anyway, what's this experiment proving to you, Drew?
Well, it was a good experience to go down to Chad's place, actually. It's the first time I'd really ever been down there. First time I ever really seen some double crop soybeans, which for an Iowa boy, that was kind of crazy. Never seen that before. I don't know. We walked out in some of his beans and asked me what I thought and what I thought that they could use. And I thought cube IR came to mind. He was just getting into flowering or right before flowering. So he was already going to go out with some boron max, which I think he probably ran about a pound. But some cube IR, the cube's got a little bit of copper, some manganese, zinc, and sulfur, which is going to help promote for plant health. And then he ran some Full-Tech K product, which is potassium, some amino acids, and once again some more boron. And then we're looking for skeletal strength as well. 80 bushel soybeans is that's a pretty good yield for a guy in Iowa with his first crop of beans. We ain't getting two. So skeletal structure was important, I thought. So we ran a little bit of Full-Tech Arrow that had some calcium in there.
Chad, you're not going to get 80. What is your real expectation?
80 bushels.
Bushels.
Yeah, this is just like on the water boy. This is what it's going to be, Damien.
Yeah, he set me out in some beans actually when I was down there. He wanted to know what they were going to yield, and he made me a bet. Of course, he put me out in the check. He didn't put me out into everything that had everything. And then he asked me how they were going to do. I said, all day long, how much you want to bet? He said 500. And I said, no, maybe 2. And found out I lost this morning. So.
But we're gonna let him off that. He was definitely hustling.
Your expectation on all of your double crop soybeans. What's the expectation? What's historically?
This is where we land at, Damien. If I can get them planted, we're really it's all timing, right? We wonder about the timing and the earliness of it. These May 30th beans, the last time I planted them on June the 1st, the farm average, it was 115 acres. It was 90 of it watered, and I averaged 71 bushel. I had a 2.5 acre plot in it that went 82 bushel.
Yep.
Okay, but that's all about the timing of it and getting them in early. Now we got a rain right behind it. We watered them up. The bean has to come out of the ground running. Period. Okay, but realistically, if we plant double crop beans, then most of the time, most farmers around here, we're always stuck around that 58, 62, up to 66, 68 bushel. Yep. Is where it won't be a farm average. That's kind of where your irrigated ones will be. Mm-hmm. My dryland beans, I've had them go up in the 50s. But this year, with the drought, it looks like I'm hoping not to be in the 20s. Hope I'm going to be somewhere around 25, 28 bushel. So, that's our realistic numbers. But we can make 60 bushel double crop beans irrigated. Yep. But we need to be, I think we can be in that 70 bushel range. And that's what me and Drew trying to figure out.
All right, Justin, this is a different world for you. You're in North Dakota, almost to the Canada border. Double cropping. You guys, it's potatoes and snow.
We're just trying to worry about getting our first and only crop out before it freezes up on us. You know what I mean?
Potatoes and snow. Then it's Anyway, yep. What have you learned about timing and placement and how technology is helping us do that? Because it seems to me, I'm still old enough to remember when people still had crop standing in February out in the field. We're old enough to remember when if you didn't plant by a certain date, which still happens, we still talk about prevent planting, et cetera, but it's less of technology has made it so that you can be, it's kind of like better tennis rackets have made it so that everybody looks like they're a better tennis player. I think the technology has made it so it makes us look better than we can make up for some mistakes. Yeah, we can get out there at the wrong time. So tell me what your vision is on that, on technology and products that make it so that you're not punished as badly for timing and placement mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's what Spraytec is really try to do is bring products that are going to make your operation more efficient. When we're talking like Chad's double cropping, but we're up here up against the window. I mean, things got to work in your tank, and when you're putting fungicides and herbicides, and you want to start putting nutritional products and plant health products in, a lot of times things don't play well together in the tank, and that's what especially nutritional products. And when you can bring nutritional products, to the table and bring your product food and feed, plant health and plant nutrition with your herbicide or with fungicides in that same tank mixture, and bring products that are appropriate or at the right stage, the right time, delivering boron or copper. That's usually, we want that in our reproductive stages. We got products that can go in the tank mix with your fungicides at that time, or the earlier planting stuff, the earlier spraying stuff, bringing cobalt or molybdenum, some of those earlier elements that are important for the vegetative stages and stuff, and bringing that in with your herbicide tank mixture, and then getting everything to be friendly in the tank. That's a very important thing. So,
Damian, I just thought about something. Justin then he's talking about his regular season. His regular season and my double crop is about the same timing. It's the same window. It's the same days is what I'm getting at. So there's a lot to learn, when you talk to people from one end of the country to the other. Here we are, and we're talking about on this podcast the same things because I'm talking about the window that I have to make these double crop beans in, and it's about the same window he has to make regular season beans in.
Speaking of all that, since we're talking about timing, the person that's listening to this that lives in North Dakota down by Justin, or up by Justin, or the person that lives in Iowa out by Drew, they're saying, well, why are we even talking about double crop? That's not something we can do. Well, that's true. It's not. But don't you get a benefit of, your soybeans get planted by second week of June in your following wheat. Well, hell, you have until Thanksgiving to get them cut. So I know that you don't get long days, but you get a lot of days. Doesn't that help?
Yeah. I mean, it's still days, but it's still, the bean plant, look at the bean plant in general. It's like a kookaburra. When it comes out of the ground late like that, it's still, you can plant one, it's still going to come out. It'll be this tall and it'll throw a pod out. It just knows daylight.
Yeah.
And that's what we run up against is just we don't get that grain feel. That's a lot of our problem in the South anyway. It's the whole grain fill period. We can't slow the plant down. I think Kelly's seen some of that this year. Drew, I think if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but they seen a lot of that warm weather up there in that heat, and they don't seem to get the grain fill that they've been getting with that slow, when you have an 80-degree day versus a 92-degree day,
Correct. And that I think we're going to see a lot of that this year. I mean, we had some heat here at the end, but I mean, during pollination, that was pretty cool. 70 degrees, 68 degrees during pollination. That was a little odd for me. I ain't never seen that before. In fact, when I left Chad's place, the only thing I could think about was how can I get some double-aught numbered soybeans and maybe get two beans here.
Yeah, he was in our double crop beans, and they was hitting him about what was they about thigh high?
Yeah,
his knee. It was over knee high, wasn't he?
Yeah.
They was,
By the way,
we worried about him being too tall.
Chad, even if you water, again, since we're talking about timing and placement, so we know that your soybeans go in late if they're going in double crop. So irrigation irrigation is not something that helps with the timing and extends it.
No, it's huge. I mean, irrigation is huge. But a soybean plant, when you plant anything into the heat, the ground's 100 degrees when we're planting. You plant anything in the heat, it's coming out and it's racing. Well, if you water it early, it's just so vegetative that it lays down with you. So it's a tricky game. You got to get that thing to where you almost want to just keep it alive. You want it to be stressed. You just want to keep it alive until it starts flowering. So as it starts flowering, starts podding, then you got to pour the coals to it. But it's not just as like, there's no irrigation that's like a rain. There's no irrigation that brings that cool air with it. Yep. So the irrigation is definitely, we need it. We need it, but it's not a cure-all by no means.
So speaking of which, then, all right, technology, we said we're going to talk about technologies and products. Products have gotten better. Our understanding has gotten better. Our equipment, our technology has gotten better. What technology and products help you get 71 bushel beans now double crop that your dad didn't get?
So
it's not just genetics. It's not just genetics.
Let's don't worry about the yield as much. Okay. Let's talk about efficiency. That's what we need to talk about right now. Let's talk about the use rates of all the Spraytec lineup. Okay. There's no other company that I've seen yet that I don't know any product they have. Okay. Let's talk about boron it's a half a pound rate, period. Any other thing they have is an ounce use rate. I don't know if we have anything over a 4-ounce use rate. Do we?
One product. Full-Tech Nitro's 21 ounces an acre.
I didn't even know they had anything like that. They ain't brought that to me. They said, "Oh no, you can't have that." So, but that's what. So we talk about efficiency. Let's talk about how I use their products. When we go to a truck and I got to go 40 miles away from my shop, and I can't switch a tote back and forth, I'm gonna run out of tote. I'm gonna have these products in the game. I can put 4 bags of boron on there, spray 400 acres. I can put 4 boxes on there of cube or whatever. It's an 80-acre load, per box, And so that's the nail in the coffin for me that with Spraytec is their use rates and how that gets into plant, the phosphates, the way they construct this thing. Me and Diego's had several conversations. His English is getting a lot better, or my understanding of Brazilian is Argentinian. What's the
both?
My understanding is getting a little better, either way. But we've had some great conversation, and the techniques that his crew and his team has come about to put this into concentration form is pretty amazing.
I like the fact that you talk about efficiency, but the point is also not just efficiency, the benefit. If you're missing out on timing, is there some technology that buys you a week or 2 weeks? Is it something like that? Is there something that you think that's going on with these products and technologies that we have now that you're like, if I'd have put soybeans in the ground this late 20 years ago, I could have never expected this kind of a yield? Is there something that's a game changer like that?
Well, I don't think it's anything with time, and I don't think there's any products that can make up time. I really don't. I mean, unless you want to put you can throw urea out on the beans right behind it. I do get a yield bump from that, but I'm just saying what we're doing is it's efficiency. We couldn't get the products in the plant. We didn't have this kind of product technology.
Yep.
And I think that's what it is. It's about being able to get the K product at a 4-ounce use rate, being able to get potassium into the plant and be enough to make the soybeans we try to make. You know, me and Drew put it on 2 times, so I got 8 ounces on these beans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not normal, you know, and the beans look good.
So by the way,
being more aware of, you know, of the application timing and you know, putting your boron out there or your K out there and seeing that spike in that tissue test and you know, finding that we're getting into the plant quicker and faster than anything out there. Also, like some products, you know, multiple dual modes of action, you know, like our manganese based products, you know, when we're, you know, helping that white mold in soybeans, but are also delivering manganese with your Roundup and decreasing the manganese tie-up effect, you know. So just delivering products that are bringing multiple modes of action for the customer, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
we were at
getting
the
that Roundup flash.
Chad,
We're
you
not
and
getting that flash.
I were at the Farm Progress Show 3 years ago, and you and I went over and talked to people that were into specialty crop stuff, and you said, I like watching what these guys do because they're always ahead of the curve compared to broad acre farming and the nutrients. And then we talked about boron, and I stood there and I listened to you talk about, and I said, I never even knew this was a thing. And then you talked about the micronutrients. When did it hit you in the head that you talk about source? The source doesn't do any good if you don't have the micros help carry the macros. I mean, et cetera. It's all a package deal. When did this gel in your head that this was all something that mattered? That with these micronutrients and timing of getting them out there, almost like they have a exponential impact. I mean, you might spend $4 on whatever boron, but it has this huge impact.
Going to make your nitrogen work better in the soil.
Yeah. And you know, you heard Lee talk about it when me and Lee talk about boron, and he's like, man, I don't have an insect damage because I have a higher level boron in plant. There's different things in different areas that it does, and that's just one product. But when you start running these, you know, we've seen our barrel, everybody's seen it, and you've got the wood plank off of it, and the water's running out the side of it. You know, when I've realized that, like, when I started with my barrel down here and we was throwing out dry fertilizer and into my barrel didn't have any wood planks on it and all my water was just in the floor, I started trying to put my wood planks on. You know, my wood planks was everything that wouldn't NP and K. And that's when we got, because you know, when you look at our soil down here, you know, man, us guys in the group, me and Damian, we make a lot of cracks back and forth about our soil, you know. Not like, man, I think my dirt's the same as his dirt is in Arizona in his yard. But we make a lot of cracks back and forth, but there's certain nutrients that we've got here that Drew can't get, you know, in Iowa. And there's certain things that I just can't hold on to anything. So when you understand where the good Lord puts you and what you need to do with it, and it's understanding your pattern and how to get that into the plant, then it'll open up those avenues. But these products, the efficiency of them is just really good in how they get in and what they've done with their team over there in Brazil to test these things.
By the way, Chad went to Brazil with Spraytec along with Kevin and Matt last winter, and they learned a lot. So I'm gonna go around the horn here.
Dude, they're trying to lock me out. They're trying to lock me out of the lab. I was like, hey, let me in there. Let me see one of them. Was it Petri dishes? Man, they had
And that's what, Chad, a lot of people can give you a boron source, but is that boron source going to get into the plant? You know,
yeah.
And that's
is it going to how many 10% borons have 2 different borons in them?
Absolutely.
With that in mind,
not many I can think of.
We'll go around the horn here. We're talking about placement and timing, two of the 4 R's. What do you think too many farmers are missing on? I mean, we're not blaming, we're not judging, we're helping. What are too many farmers missing out on that when it comes to timing and placement of stuff? What is it that they is not gelling in their head yet? What is it? Justin's nodding his head. What are too many farmers missing out on the subject of timing and placement?
Oh, absolutely. The micronutrients is a big thing. We're very good at putting our dry fertilizers, the NPs and Ks of the world's on top and covering that, you know, but when you start looking at, you know, over the top, doing the small things right, turns over to doing a lot of big things good, you know. So you start looking at taking care of your small things. That's a very important part of the game here. So,
Drew, what are too many farmers missing out on the subject of timing and placement of nutrients and plant inputs and crop inputs?
Well, in Iowa, they're missing out big time. About 90% of them are short in boron, molybdenum, and zinc. Some of them are getting better at looking at that.
Yeah.
now it's all.
If they would just concentrate on those 3 micros, the benefit to the expense they're already putting in for the other stuff would probably be like 4 to 1.
Correct.
I've seen I got to see some of the samples and stuff, and most samples, Drew, I mean, what's a base saturation of potassium up there for most farms up there? It's less than 3, ain't 3 or 4?
Correct.
So, every time we've seen any numbers less or anywhere around that 3, every 90% of the time when I make application of potassium, you get a bump from it. It just can't consume it. And it's really understanding those numbers. And it's took a long time for all of us in the group and being able to get, a group of like-minded people around each other to start sharing this information back and forth and saying, hey, every time we see this, we see a bump.
It's Chad Henderson. We're going to leave it right there. We're talking about timing and placement, 2 of the 4 things: source, right rate, right time, right place. And we talked about 2 of them. And remember, Chad struggles a bit with rate, but we're getting him figured out. We're getting him figured out.
I'm doing better. I'm 30 days in. I've had the right rate for the last 30 days because I hadn't sprayed anything. We've been harvesting. So, it's just like an AA meeting. I'm doing better. I'm moving forward, y'all.
All right. Chad's joined by Drew Ewing and Justin Moe with Spraytec. They're a business partner here of ours at XtremeAg, and they took Chad down to Brazil last year for a big lesson. So you know what? Maybe you'll hear more about these.
They got red dirt in Brazil.
They do. They do. Thanks for being here, guys. Till next time, share this with somebody who can benefit from it. Remember, if you enjoyed this, there are literally hundreds of episodes like this, Cutting the Curve. We've been doing it since 2021. Go and check out the library. It's all free. There's also hundreds of videos shot at the guys' farms. Chad shoots them, Matt shoots them, Kevin shoots them, Kelly, all the guys shoot them, Temple, and it's all there for you for free. If you want to up your game and your farming operation, you can become an XtremeAg member for $750 a year. That's it, just $750 a year. You get a direct access and a conduit to ask questions to people like Chad to go a little deeper on a subject. You also get offers from our business partners, and you get year-end data, all the trials that these guys are doing. You get to see all that, break it down, and apply those learnings to your farming operation. So go to XtremeAg.farm, share this video so somebody can learn from it. Till next time, thanks for being here. Drew, Justin, Chad, I'm Damian Mason. This is XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cutting the Curve. Make sure to check out XtremeAg.farm for more great content to help you squeeze more profit out of your farming operation. Cutting the Curve is brought to you by Claas, where machines aren't just made, they're made for more. Visit Claas.com and start cutting your curve with cutting-edge equipment.